Welcome to another episode of More Than Nights. I'm Gonzo.
I'm John.
Welcome to episode 256, where we're going to be talking about RPG newbies. Yes, those people that have never played a game and what we can do to help them out. Also, other things that can help out people in RPG games. Things like models, visuals, props. Also, how to make them comfortable, make sure they feel like they're overwhelmed. And we're going to expand on the rule of cool because that came up this weekend, John. And I figured we could expand on that because you and I, we most likely did not have miniatures and props while we were gaming. We had to use our imagination. And so we most likely, John's looking around like he's crazy. But some people are having a little difficult on how to implement the rule of cool or do the rule of cool without causing problems. And I'm like, well, we can work on that. That's something we can talk about too. Hey, Big Jim Slade. But before we get to all of the topics, we got to make sure to shout out to all of our sponsors. We want to shout out to Turbo Dork, maker of fantastic and turbo shifting paints. Pay soon, probably next week. We'll be giving away a $50 gift certificate to Turbo Dork. Also, we want to thank Parabellum Wargames for all their awesome Conquest miniatures. Make sure if you go to their website, you can check out and get a 10% discount on your order using the link in our descriptions. We want to thank Midnight Heroes for also sponsoring and giving us some cool stuff. And I'll be painting on some of those dwarves today while we're talking about our subject. And don't forget, they'll be at Warfare Weekend and debuting a few new things and a special edition miniature. We want to thank Muse on Minis for hosting our file and getting it out to everybody else extra special. Don't forget to check them out, and you can use also our discount code there. And on top of that, they have a bunch of new products coming out. They've been having to work on a bunch of products, and so they told me that they've got a bunch of new things coming out for the gaming world. So, cool beans. We'll have some more news on some of that other stuff later on. We're just waiting on some ink to dry and chickens to fry and, you know, Batman to do his thing, and we'll let you know.
Wow.
So, before we do anything else, do we have any shout-outs this week? We actually had 2 weeks off. And I'm going to tell you the story after we do our shout-outs and our drinks. About why we didn't stream last week.
Like it or not, we have to shout out Jerry Springer because even if the stuff that was on his show was occasionally absolutely batshit crazy, he did a lot for that particular variety of talk show.
Correct, he did. He was very much,
and by all accounts, he was an actual good dude.
Yeah, he wasn't a dick.
No, I mean the people on his show, crazy. But, yeah.
Yeah, the Shock TV, new people. Hey, Gilded Viking. Very much.
Yep, Harry Belafonte.
And Harry Belafonte. I mean, that's the one, activist, artist, you name it. Goes ways back. I mean, Harry Belafonte was in his 90s, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was very old.
So, I mean, he lived a good life. Jerry Springer still lived a good life. But, I mean, just how it is. This is life. What else? I think that was about it. Guys, we want to say make sure everybody's take care of yourself, as always. Make sure you give yourself a shout out because you made it through another day. John, the most important question of all week. What are you drinking?
I am drinking gin and ginger beer with wood lime juice, which they would generally call gin mill.
Okay. I am drinking some good old H2O. Got a little bit more water, taking some more medications. So I got to take some more medication and stuff and make sure that I'm hydrated and keeping my cells working properly. Hopefully Monday I'll get a phone call and I can figure out what's going on and get some things going. Got to figure out what my surgery is. Yay.
I guess I'm lucky all my problems are mental.
So, they were supposed to call me Friday to tell me when I was supposed to go in and do my surgery, and they didn't. So I was like, damn it. So hopefully they'll call me Monday morning. I'm off Monday morning anyway. It's one of my flex days since I had to work all week, overnight in places. So, guys, please take care of yourself. Please look after each other. If you see something, say something, and if you can do something, do something. Cheers.
Cheers.
One more time. So, last week we did not stream, and I wanted to talk about this. John, we told John, but this was...
Mizzy told John.
Mizzy told John. It was
Gonzo didn't tell John.
That's because Gonzo was driving. But, so, we went to St. Louis Saturday to go run a tournament. Left really early, going to stay the night, make it a day trip type thing. Spend the night. We got there, the tournament's running fine. About 3 o'clock rolls around. Like, hey, go check into the hotel. Can't check into the hotel. They're not ready for us. Crap. Okay. No big deal. It happens. It's not like we're going to lose our room. So, tournament goes on. About 5 o'clock. Still can't get our hotel room. 6 o'clock. Hotel room's not ready. We're going to go get something to eat. We'll get something to eat. Hopefully it'll be done by then. Go in there. Go to a place that's supposed to be a really good burger joint. And I ordered the simplest thing that was on there. 60-40 beef pork burger with a egg over easy on top. Side of fries. Okay? Nothing big, nothing bad about it. The burger came back very, very charred and was well done. Very dry on the inside. And my egg was not runny. It was solid. I was like, really? Plus, the table was sticky as shit. I took my napkin and tore it in pieces so I could set my arms down without sticking. I mean, you would stick it and your skin would like peel away from the table. So gross. And that took us almost 2 hours to get our food and eat. So, we go back to the hotel. 8 o'clock. Hey, we're ready to check in. Your room's not ready yet. 8 o'clock at night. I'm not even paying for a whole night of rooming now. I'm only paying for like half a night of rooming. So, I'm pretty ticked off. So I call customer service to talk about it because I used points and all this other stuff. And we got back in at like 8:15. And the room had so much chemical smell in it and so much chemicals thrown. It's like they just took buckets of chemicals and just threw it on the floor. And so we all peed, got it, and I took the bathroom door, closed it, and then took a wet towel and put it around the bottom of the bathroom door so the smell wouldn't come through because it was already causing us smelling issues, and we weren't going to get a new room. We knew it. So we finally crashed about 10 o'clock or so. 3:30 in the fucking morning. Meep. Meep. This chirping beep goes off, and it's the damn fire smoke detector. Battery is dead. So I get my ass up. I ripped that out of the wall. I didn't rip it, just popped it off. Took the battery out. It had an additional backup battery that lasts for a little bit longer. So even with the battery pulled out and it pulled out of the wall, it was still chirping. So I took another towel, soaked it, wrapped the fire extinguisher in that so the sound couldn't get through it, put it in the bathroom with the other stuff so we couldn't hear it. Finally, got up at about 8 o'clock. Put the fire extinguisher back on, did everything else. I'm not going to take a shower. Just want to get out of here, go eat breakfast. And we go to our free complimentary breakfast. The free complimentary breakfast was a bagel and dry cereal. And a big old note that says, due to overabundance of people here, and you can tell this note was been on there for quite a while, they don't have all the breakfast stuff they normally have. No waffles, no yogurt, all that type of stuff. The standard, complimentary breakfast that you see. Nothing. Fucking pissed. So of course they give me my points back, so on and so forth. But we didn't get out. We got on the road, and I was just so exhausted. I'm like, no, we're not doing it tonight. So we didn't have our podcast last week. So we're back this week, where we've got to do some more cool stuff. I got to go out of town for a couple of days this week, but I had to go work. Met some cool people, and then did something very, very cool this week that I thought was very interesting and very fun, and it's what the show's about. So, did an RPG this week, and in this RPG, one person, brand new, never even rolled a die type thing. Gave them the PDF of the book so they could read about it and they can figure out what character they make and so on and so forth. Other person, semi-newbie, Mizzy there. But it was a game of running 3 girls through an RPG, which was my first ever full girl RPG group, which was kind of neat. I'm expecting, certain things to happen, maybe murder hobos or whatever. And they, it was a really good game session, especially for someone that was their first time. She was all in on it and was doing a lot of cool things and getting a lot of things done. And very much was, acting like a veteran in a way. Wasn't afraid to go, hey, can I check for this? Can I use this skill for that type thing? I was like, yeah. So, but that brought up our topic today was doing newbie stuff because we're going to have more and more people play RPGs. That's just like it is. You're going to see more and more. May not be able to do it as often. May not be like John and I, we used to do it, like 4 days straight, in the back of someone's, apartment or whatever. But I have a feeling.
Like I used to run games 5 nights a week.
Yeah.
Play one more. So.
Yeah. I mean, we used to play, nonstop. But, you do like an every other weekend. Hey, that's a good schedule nowadays.
Now, yeah.
Type thing. You do like every other weekend or, twice a month. You're,
I mean, you can even do better if you're doing it online. That's a lot easier online.
Correct. But online's a whole lot easier. But I would rather do it in person. So, John, how many newbies have you taught to play a game besides, like a one-off or whatever, but it's been like campaign-style stuff?
Many.
Many. While we're doing this, I'm going to switch over to the paint cam because I want to work on some.
Colded Viking wants to know what. You're playing Unity? Okay,
yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, we are playing Unity.
Well, let me just throw my first suggestion out is if you've got a new player who's just jumping in to play, don't give them the book. If they need to make a character, have them describe to you the character they want to make based off your elevator pitch of the world and everything. You make the character for them. Because here's the thing I'm going to tell you. You guys might think once your character's made, it's set in stone.
Nah.
It's not. If something turns out to be completely wrong, you can revise it. There's no set in stone. We're not chiseling this shit into a fucking stone tablet anymore.
Not anymore.
Pencils come with erasers. New character sheets can be printed. It's all good.
Yeah.
So you should not give them the book. And you can, but I suggest it not just because you want them to not worry about mechanics because it can be fucking daunting.
Yes.
Especially nowadays, a lot of the games they'll sell themselves as relatively simple, but if they have no idea at all, if they've never played a game before, they're not going to have that basic level of understanding, so it's not going to be simple to them. So better for that. And honestly, a lot of people started off on a D&D style game, so they got to describe their character. And then, it's easy to say, I want to be fucking Boromir just without all the arrows. Or what have you. And then you get an idea, you can make the character appropriately. And then as things go on, you can go like, I want to change this thing I've never used to this thing that I think would be cool. Sure, cool. Who cares, right? Like the the fun police, the role-playing game police are not going to come to your house and stop you.
No.
That's ultimately funny because of the Wizards of the Coast shit that happened this week. But they're not going
What?
to come to your house to stop you. And if they do, they've got no legal right to be there. Tell them to fuck off.
Correct.
So, but yeah, that's the first thing is you want them focused on playing and having fun. I had a veteran role player play a game system new. It was playing Hero System, and all he'd heard about Hero System was that it was super complicated. You needed a math degree to do it, so he didn't even try. But that was fine. I just fucking made up his character, and I did all the work for whatever he needed to do for his. He was basically Junkyard Iron Man. I would do all the work for that. It's fine, you know. Eventually, people
Junkyard Iron Man.
graduate into learning their own stuff. They all started that way, you know. I've actually had multiple people who their first ever role playing game. You should probably put that on your paint palette there, Gonzo, since it keeps closing like that.
And it should be done. I'm gonna be annoyed by it. Just let it go.
Fair enough. But yeah, I mean, so you know, you want them to focus on playing, not focus on the minutia of the rules. Um, if anything, it's sort of like the downside of current, by current I mean past first edition versions of D&D, because they are much more depth to them, but as such it's become a lot more for players to do. They have a lot of choices, when back in original D&D it's like, what class are you? Cool, here's your character sheet, go. In class and stats, that's about all you needed. From a simplicity standpoint, works pretty well. Oh, Kilted Viking, your first game was Rifts? Now,
Oh man.
long yes, but very well described. Like, I've never had a problem handing someone a Rifts character book going like, okay, look, there's a lot in here. Look at the character creation and go. You can do that. There's a lot there. And in fact, that might be one where you want them to actually read a little bit about it, unless you can describe perfectly. But yeah,
Man.
I mean, that's a heck of a first game. To be
Yeah.
fair, uh, Palladium Book stuff was my second game, and I think it was Heroes Unlimited probably. And I mean the original Heroes Unlimited or Robotech, one of the two. I think it was Heroes Unlimited actually. Anyways, but yeah, you don't want them focusing too much on the minutia. You want them worried about getting their character ready, and then because you can write the minutia afterwards, it's not that important, you know. They say the devil's in the details. It is, but to a certain point, if you've got someone who's got the right mindset to role play, they don't need all those details. You should get them down at the table, get a character sheet as easy as possible, and just get them going. Any little age you can add to them, any little hints. You've got a character sheet. People make a ton of online character sheets. You find one that's very newer friendly, and you might be able to find one. That'll help. I actually have one that a young lady made semi-professionally, and it's just she calls it the ADD character sheet. So that everything's easy to find. You're not looking around for stuff. It leads all in a progression that people can easily follow. So I bought that because I mean, if I play D&D, it's useful, right?
Yep.
But yeah, that's my biggest thing for new players, to make them comfortable. Don't mention the rules they don't know. People players can get like that, like, oh, you haven't read the rule. Like, shut the fuck up, dude. Let's let them play. You can tell them what to roll. All right, like, oh, this is a skill check. You do this on D20, 3D6, whatever.
Whatever.
Walk them through it. You're the tutorial version of the video game now. Just walk them through it. Don't worry too much about it. If you're playing a math heavy game, something like Hero System size Champions, or even Rifts to a point, you can get some big dice rolls and that for things. If they're having a problem with the math, help them with the math. It's no big deal. Yeah, I know that you have to let veteran players know it'd be time to tone back their min-max murder hobo, so you don't scare them away. I would actually honestly say the time for veterans to tone back their min-maxed murder hobo was about 5 years ago. That shit's gone.
Yeah.
You need to, like, there are campaigns for that, but that should be part of the elevator pitch. And the elevator pitch I talk about a lot is important for a game. You have to say in a brief statement what the game's about. Like, you can go, all right, we're going to play D&D using the world's largest dungeon. It's going to be Murder Hobo Orama. Just go.
Yeah.
Kill monsters, take their shit, kick down doors. Maybe not even in that order. So, but that should be your elevator pitch at that point. Otherwise, you should be, whatever the world is. Like, okay, sort of like so for our current game, my elevator pitch is I showed them the intro to Thunder the Barbarian. That. Like that. And they made characters based on that. Turns out they all have a little bit of magic. Some of it is technology. It works. As long as you get that down, because then you can get I could bring a newer player in easily. Go like, watch this. What do you want to be? Maybe watch an episode. You find an episode on YouTube. Watch an episode if you feel like you want to watch one. Get an idea of what you want to be based off the world you see there. So, yeah, Kiltabuck, D&D light. You can call anything light and just make it super easy and for people to play. Like, we forget that as veterans. We look for super complexity, but sometimes you just want that super simple just so people can play. Too many games nowadays, and not necessarily a bad thing, are super complicated. There's a lot to them. Sometimes you just need the quick and easy game. And I think that I hope that D&D never loses that as at least an option. If there's ever a game that needed quick start rules, D&D is perfect because it can get a little complicated, but if you've got a quick start, jump in, quick start, go, and then worry about it afterwards, A lot of people think that you can't change, like I said, change characters after you started. You can change characters as much as you want after you started. Heck, your world could evolve and go like, hey, I've decided this isn't going to fit in the world. Let's get you something cool. But that's where it goes into our second part, right, Gonzo? The rule of cool, which is actually important for new players because
Well,
they're more going to be not worried about the actual letter of the rules and just trying to do things.
well, before we get into that, I wanted to talk about props and such because it really kind of hit home for me yesterday when we were playing that I'm used to mind's eye theater type thing. That's just how I've always been. That's how I've always had to play, etc., etc.
Mm-hmm.
And then it really helped the people that were playing this week. They really were able to, seeing a miniature there, looking at it, positioning it, moving it, so on and so forth, really hit home to them. And it really they really liked it. And I was like, it didn't, make me go, aha, but I was like, we can do that a lot easier now. 3D printing,
I mean 3D printing, son. Like, we've been doing this easy for years.
Oh, yeah.
I dare say a decade or two. Like, let's be honest. Raul Partha did it back in the day, but with the gaming stores being more available, Reaper models, even before Bones came out, just Reaper models, you could find in the Reaper line something that was close to your character, I guarantee you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we used to buy a bunch of Reaper models because it'd be like, oh, my, so it'd be like, oh, this is the perfect character.
Perfect XYZ.
Yeah, but I will say, honestly, Gonzo, when we started, the games we really started on, we did a lot of Theater of the Mind's Eye, early, but when I got into it with not just me and my buddies from freaking elementary school, all the old D&D players had maps on graph paper or whatever, models. Like, a lot of the games of that era came with stuff. If you look at, let's look at the second round of TSR offerings.
Oh, especially box sets.
Star Frontiers, Gamma Riders, Marvel Superheroes, they all came with accoutrement to make you play easier. So you didn't have to use just Mind's Eye, Theater of the Mind. You could just, you had chits or foldable, tapeable dudes, like those Marvel ones. They were just
yeah.
3-piece. You fold them, they become a little triangle. Great. Absolutely great.
Yeah, I remember those.
Yeah, those were
Little standees.
Yeah, they're amazing. and that's sort of the thing, you know. They so I never really. I mean, we did a little bit of that, but we didn't have to do too much of that. If we ever needed it, it was there, but it shouldn't be too hard. And
No,
honestly,
no,
you know,
nowadays it's
in my
really easy.
game, we stopped playing fourth edition D&D with this new game because we didn't want to be arse to the map. It wasn't really convenient to how we situate ourselves around the room. So we switched to Genesis because it's very much don't need a map. In fact, a lot of newer games, you know, old school D&D, and people will say otherwise, it's hit or miss. From a certain point, say mid to late 80s on, someone probably had a map.
Oh yeah,
Maybe it was graph paper, maybe it was an actual mat, you know, mat you roll out and use dry erase markers, fucking overhead markers, and you draw a map and you fight. Like that was very prevalent, to the point where in the early to mid, let's say mid 90s, when Feng Shui version 1 came out, they had a statement there saying the map is not your friend because you want to be able to describe what's going on. And that actually is. I agree with that. Like, sure, having play aids is good, but to a point, everyone's memory and imagination will be more involved than just whatever map you can draw. You know, I can draw a picture of a streetway with ruined buildings and stuff, but it's just going to be like just generic squiggly lines, right?
yes.
But if I say, okay, you're down a streetway, you know, on either side, some of the buildings, anything too big is collapsed in, some spilling out onto the road. Other ones are still mostly intact. Maybe the windows are broken, you know, maybe some holes here or there, but still mostly intact. You guys get a mind's eye of that. You're like, okay, I kind of picture that. The more description you put into something like that, the less good it's going to be to a point. Like, sure, with dungeons, you know, is a little different when you have the actual dungeons, but you're getting outside of that into the actual, you know, forescape or whatever, um, or you know, in my case, a cityscape. It's a little more interesting to have just a description of what it is. You can draw a little map if you need to give an idea where positions are. We do that on scrap paper all the time, but we've done a lot of, you know, just descriptions and then them filling it in their mind for a while because you don't have to think of everything. Someone can go like, "Oh, you know, I'm in a house. I grabbed the broom to, you know, whack outside the head with. Cool. There's a broom in a house. There's brooms in houses all the time. No problem. You don't have to say all this stuff because if you remember the old dungeons, when you describe a room, anything in the room suddenly became important because they're like, oh, there's a thing. That thing must be important. There's a table with stuff on it. That table must be important. Well, really, it's just room dressing. You don't need to describe there's a table in the room. You can just say, "Hey, here's a room and everything. There's a table with some stuff on it." You know, when you're doing generic descriptions, you're no longer constrained by the fact that people are going to latch onto any little thing and be like, "It must be important."
Oh, I know that actually kind of came up a little bit this weekend, and I was like, you got to just say just generic. It's just generic stuff. There's nothing
Or
special about it.
let them roll with it, and then it becomes something special. But it's easier if you don't have those extra descriptions or anything like that.
Yeah, just don't let it detract.
And if you start people off with mind's eye and theater of the mind and keeping them thinking out stuff, it builds upon itself. Because they'll start off, oh, you didn't say it was there, I didn't think of using it. Have the enemies do that. Okay, you know, you're in a, you know, someone's apartment, like, okay, the enemy flips up their dining room table and ducks behind it to avoid your shot. Like, oh, shit, we can do that? It's just description for whatever's going on. But suddenly that unleashes more things people can do. Which, when you're ready, we can go into the second part or third part.
Or whatever part.
Which I honestly think is the most important part because they all work. This works together with using, you know, theater of the mind.
Yeah, well, I mean, so in Unity, Unity has a reward system if you do if you do cool, you know, rule of cool stuff. You know, stuff that adds flair and good drama and good story, but doesn't necessarily change, you know, everything about what you're doing. And I got to thinking, you know, I can do it. I've done it nonstop, you know, forever. So it comes second nature to me. But for people that are new to it, it could be kind of daunting and they don't know what they can and can't do. So, but before we do that, John, what is the rule of cool? What is a good rule of cool? What is a bad rule of cool?
Well, I mean, here's the thing: is the rule of cool is always good. There is no bad rule of cool. It actually is more importantly stated in the phrase, "Don't say no unless it is actually impossible. Assign a difficulty."
Yeah.
I want to shoot my rocket launcher and blow up the moon. Like, okay, that's literally not possible. Or I want to fire the rocket launcher and hit up on the mountain and cause an avalanche. Well, fucking hey, that's possible. Let's go. Roll some dice. What's your rocket launcher skill? Do you have any other skills you think would be useful? I mean, it's so much easier if you just do it because it gives them a chance if they've got remotely skills, like, oh no, we mentioned a while ago that my character was super good at math, so I'm gonna figure out, the basic, geometry of where we should hit to have it fall where I want. Excellent. I'll give you a bonus or less of a penalty on that because of that shit. It's all just that, keeping track of that stuff.
Yeah, it's also about getting good descriptions to it. You can, because anybody can say, "I'm just going to hit this monster with my sword."
No, no, and in fact, when feng shui is around, they actually said you start penalizing people when they say that.
You want good dramatic because we're there to tell a story, and the dice are just there to add the randomness and shit
And
goes wrong.
the thing is, people forget they like to say their super cool action before they roll die. Don't do that. Say, I'm going to attack, roll your die. If it's a big number, it's like, all right, you hit. All right, I come in, and bash his shield out of the way with the hilt of my sword, and then get a quick slice on him. You can wait to roll damage, see how big it is, and describe it then. But you should do that. You don't have to describe it beforehand unless you want a bonus if you're trying to roll a cool bonus. You can do that. That's what it is. You can also just wait till it hits and describe it to match what happens. A GM can do it. In fact, if you want your players to do it, often you should start doing it and they'll take it up too.
Yeah.
Get one of your players. It's easy since you got Captain Visit right there to describe stuff like that, and it'll start to build. Even with newer players, if they're there, one person's doing it, the rest will think they can do it too, and then it's great.
Yeah,
But
and I
rule
like
of
the
cool is
idea.
basically the you can do anything cool.
Yeah, I do like you saying do it after you roll
Oh yeah.
because then it gives you a good descriptor of what actually happens.
Also, you're not using all your best shit on like a 4 to hit because most games a 4 to hit's not good. So depends on what dice you're rolling, but actually, in here's some 4 to hits actually really good. But you're not using it on a bad hit roll, so you're not doing the super cool move. Or if you are, let's say you're doing the super cool move to try and get an advantage and you miss, that really becomes a GM firing back with, okay, well, you tried the cool move, but he was ready for it, saw something, and did this thing to counter it. Now you're getting an actual narrative fight, and that's way more interesting. I try to do that in my games. Sometimes you get tired. And honestly, some games I feel, and this is more of a D&D problem than anything, that you get too many fights and it just gets fucking passe. There should be a lot more than fights going on. That's, I think, one of the things about going to theater of the mind is if you don't have the map there, you don't have the map to constrain you. You don't just pre-plan encounters. You go, we'll have an encounter wherever the fuck we need to. We don't need to break out a map or anything. Or if you've got some sort of pre-made maps or anything. Honestly, if you have the perfect like that gaming table with the fucking screen in it and everything, you can do whatever you want then because it's all there ready to go.
Yeah, you just load it up.
Is loaded up. But yeah, but if you're not, you can just describe it. Like in the last game, I'll give you a little preview of the Ruined Earth episode 2. They're all searching for stuff, and they roll a shit ton of successes and a shit ton of threat. So like you find it, but ambush. And then we had a fight then. Way cooler than saying, "Oh, I've got this fight ready to go." Just go. You know, fit it in the narrative. If your players can figure shit up about a fight, that's part of the rule of cool. Like, hey, we want to do this cool thing to prevent the fight or to make the fight easier. Let them go with it. Give them a chance to roll dice well, because honestly, half of it is that. Someone want to spend their resources on doing something cool because it'll be epic and they'll remember it. Is okay. Those,
It's
those,
okay.
those are only diggers, Banyan. Wait till the skitterers. Yeah, kind of do some of the descriptive stuff after the roll. Like, It's a great idea. People don't think of that, and we're never going to be Critical Role or Dimension 20 or any of those people. It's okay, but we can learn from some of the stuff they do and use that to make our games more interesting. And I've learned that from stuff. My buddy Mike Serbrook, who works for a gaming company now, actually doing Mobius Press, that the current name is. He used to always describe stuff after the fact, and I always thought that was really cool. Because he'd come in and maybe roll mediocrely, so he changes he does a description. He'd do a lot of describe it, then the dice roll happen and sort of tweak it to fit, which is cool. It's very, very cinematic, very cool. And, we could use more of that in games because sometimes it can get down to I hit him with my axe. I rolled a 16. It's a hit, 12 damage. That's
Yeah.
not exciting,
No.
you know? You can do a lot more with that. And we should encourage people to. And
Yeah.
that's sort of the core of the rule of cool / don't say no, just assign a difficulty. You know, you could try and do anything you want as long as it's remotely feasible. Example from an old game. One of the PCs was taunting a villain on Facebook and causing the villain to fire satellite strikes at random buildings. So the guy's like, I want to crash all of Facebook. Like, fuck yeah, man, roll some computer hacking. Let's go. Not like, can I? This is what I wish to do. Just do that, get the GM a chance to assign some bonuses or penalties, and then go. Look at your skills. Often you think, you have skills just certain things. Sometimes you can use your skills in ways you don't think. You know, um, Now a lot of skills are very cut and dry, but depending on the game, you might have some skills that are somewhat generic. You may not think they're good, but they end up having a lot of potential for use in all sorts of things. So you gotta. It's a lot of thinking outside the box and just trying to do cool stuff.
Yeah, I mean, and you want to try to best way be cinematic. That way, it adds to it and such. But there's a lot of people that are like, "Is this going to be too much?" Well, the GM will
Well,
tell you if it's too much or if it's going to break something that you're trying to do extra. But for the most part, it's just happening.
yeah. So there are games nowadays that have a lot more to skill rolls than just success or failure. And I have no real problem with the binary you succeed or you don't succeed. I am very much more interested in games that have degrees of success, though.
Yeah.
You know, this is why one of the reasons we like and we keep trying Genesis because the way the dice roll, there are a number of successes, and then you could have advantages or disadvantages, triumph, despair. There's a bunch of stuff there that can really affect the way it goes. Even Prowlers and Paragons from Mobius Studios, my buddy Mike Turbo's working on, has a sort of degree of success thing where if you fail, whoever wins the outcome describes it. So if the GM wins the outcome, he describes what happens. But if you're within a certain couple points of succeeding, you get to alter it a little bit. Like, all right, I'm going to jump from this rooftop to that rooftop to pursue. I'm like, all right, well, you failed, but like I only failed by one, so I missed the rooftop, but I land on the fire escape, and it's going to delay me as I run up the stairs after him. It's that kind of thing. Or if you fail, or if you win just by a couple points, the GM gets to alter a little bit. You can't really change what happened. You're still going to happen based off the success, but you can introduce little things like, oh, you succeeded, but only by one. All right, you do it, but you know, it was a sloppy jump, and they gain a little bit of ground, or they gain a little further away from you.
Or I mean, even if you like fell by one, it could be you just barely held onto the side of the building.
Yeah,
You made it, but now they're
yeah. There's less ways to tell. I mean,
x amount of speed away from you now.
yeah. Now, but that could proceed me further. Like, oh, you're a full turn behind him. Now you're just a little bit behind him rather than catching up.
Yeah.
Succeed by a bunch. All right, you leap the building very well, and you sprint across, and you're keeping up with them. You're right on their heels. There are degrees of success and failure, and a lot of games don't do that. And I would say, boldly, that's a mistake. Because binary success and failure is cool, but a degrees of success and failure is much more interesting.
Much more fun.
Yeah, much more fun. It's I always look for that in games. And there's a lot of games out there where your degree of success, like in combat, for example, may affect how much damage you do. You may not be able to hurt something much inherently, but if you get a good hit, you hit him in a weak spot, whatever. There's a lot of that out there, and you should even try that in other games. But you need to make sure your GM is on board with that, because at the end of the day, they may be following the rules, but they're really more just fucking guidelines.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind as you try and do stuff. Have a discussion. I mean, people like to think it's the binary, you just sit down and play or you don't play. No, no, no. You should be talking to your GM about what. And in a perfect world, GM would come to you with a sheet that says, hey, this is what I'm looking to do. And some of the games actually have that available as like a sheet you can print out or whatever and fill out going, this is what we're going to do. How realistic it's going to be, how episodic, so you can know what's going on. It's possible to play a game, and since I'm more of a superhero background, even though we haven't done one in a while, you can play a game that's completely episodic. Maybe a couple sessions to a thing, boom, done, reset. Your character may gets experience or whatever, but there's no lasting consequences from that. Like early comic books, where what happened, after a 2-issue run or so, it doesn't matter so much. Sure, that happened, doesn't have any lasting effect. Versus episodic, or versus serial, where you're gonna have things lead directly into the next. Which is mostly where role playing games go, but it doesn't have to. If you play intermittently, one of my buddies in the UK plays in a club where they change GMs every 5 or 6 weeks just to keep everyone in the club moving around. Well, that should be fucking completely, episodic. Because you're not going to be playing that much. You're going to be playing that as characters too much, so you should just boom and go. But it's all things you have to look at based off the game you're playing and all. And getting a little off topic, but back on to it, you'll need to know from your GM what their ideas are for the rule of cool. Some GMs don't believe in it. Respectfully, fuck those guys.
Yeah.
You need to have it in some way, shape, or form, or you're just role playing with two L's.
Yeah. I mean,
You
for me,
prefer to get it to where you're role playing with an LE. And there'll always be dice involved. There should be dice involved.
yeah.
The diceless role playing games kind of didn't do well. And even some of those still had numbers to be important.
Yeah. I mean, my thing about the rule of cool is if you want to do something neat and interesting and flair and dramatic, so on and so forth, go right ahead. Are you trying to do it to make your 5D fireball a 50D fireball? That's not the rule of cool. That's
No, no,
exploitation.
you explain that shit well enough, I'll give it to you. I don't fucking care.
Correct. But for the most
Like,
part, I'm saying
people,
generic wise.
yeah, well, people like to think sometimes people think that it's GM versus players. It should never be GM versus players. Because if it's GM versus players, you should be playing something like fucking Descent or something where it is actually GM versus players. It is, you guys are collaborating to tell a story. If you want to have some cool thing where maybe that villain just pisses you off and you're just like, no, fuck this guy completely. I want to channel all of my inner energy into blowing him to hell. Hey, maybe the GM can work with you on that. Maybe, that can be a story element. It's a two-way street on that, though. Don't expect to have it with no penalties.
Yeah.
But, there's one game where, I'm a paladin of the God of Justice, and the village we're in is trying to blackmail me into, or coerce me into doing something for them. And that's not just. So I said no. The rest of the party's like, we'll do it. One of the guys stayed with me, and we get into a fight with all of them. Like, as you're fighting, I pray to my God, sort of like the, Conan's prayer to Crom in his fight.
Yeah.
And Jim rolls and like he rolled a good roll. My God showed up and helped me smite those fuckers. That's super cool. I'd even ask for that, but you could. You can go like, I pray to my God trying to get him to intervene, you know? But half of it's on the GM. The GM can be like, okay, you can make the player make a roll if there's like a religion skill or whatever. You can make the roll behind the screen if you want to. It's all up to you how you do it. The rule cool actually works both ways. Because if you do something cool, if the players get themselves in over their head, or if they're playing to their characters, the rule cools can come in very handy. Because it'll let you get them out of it in a way that was very awesome. Like me and Troy was playing a Minotaur who stayed with me in that fight. We still remember that to this day. It was a great, great fucking moment. And you can make those moments if you look at that stuff and just try and make it cool. You know, earlier game with buddy Andy, he was playing. It was Marvel superheroes. He was a professional wrestler and superhero, like you do. And they find a mystic book, and he's like, I don't know what this is about. And he goes, hold on, I summon Doctor Strange. And he puts his fingers to his temples and concentrates. So I roll and like double odd. I'm like, all right, well, Doctor Strange shows up. You know, was he really asking for Doctor Strange to show up? Probably not. But you know what? You can take it that way. It became a cool moment. Also, cost him an action many, many a time. He's like, I summoned Doctor Strange. And never again did it happen, of course. But it's those cool things, you know? That became a talked about thing. You know, villains show up like he can summon Doctor Strange. They'd say that shit. You just have to roll with it sometimes. It's a lot of there are the planners out there who plan, 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 but you can only plan so much for these players if you let them use the rule of cool, you know, and the don't don't say no, just assign difficulty. I've been reading a lot of books on role playing and how to run games, and the biggest thing that goes through all of them is don't say no, assign difficulty. And now, granted, of course, sometimes you have to say no. Like I said, if I have a rocket launcher blow up the moon, no. But you can definitely make games more interesting by giving them some agency to do something that's completely out of the ordinary. You know, sometimes they just want like you could just see that player hates that enemy or whatever and just needs to kill them or needs to do something to one up them. You got to give them that once in a while, you know. Once in a great while, just giving them that little thing, letting them do the rule of cool to do something to thwart the enemy will go a long, long way. John, so you do some of that gray on that fucking wrench? I don't want to be blunt, but I fucking hates it.
Oh, it's got dry. I'm trying it dry. And then
Hey, Elboop, how's it going?
Yeah,
With the moon, the no full moon, mood swings. Well, that's actually a plot point in Dragon Ball Z. Because Piccolo blew up the moon. You can tell if that was a role-playing game, that's the Piccolo player going, this shit's out of hand. I can't have this happen. I want to blow up the moon. And Jim going, fucking roll it. And he's like, Brit. And they're like, all right, you blew up the moon. Good job. And now, honestly, in certain games that have a certain level of realism, that would be a problem. In that game, that's not a problem. But sometimes you got to let them do that, you know?
Sometimes you just have to let them blow up the moon. That's just
Yeah, Elboop, you know this time of year, it's a little later than normal, but it's going to be rainy for another 2 or 3 weeks. Sorry, man. He's local for those of you who don't know.
Oh.
But look, man, don't hit me on the airbrush. That's purely in Banion's thing. We have to get stuff out of here before we can airbrush. I'm going to put that in him.
Banion's fault.
Boom. Anyway, so there you go.
But I really like it when players, do stuff like that because it makes the game better and it makes it fun because you're like, ooh,
Yeah.
or whatever, and it's just a really
It's
good
those
time.
moments you'll remember forever.
Yeah.
It'll be those, like, people like, John, do you remember? I don't remember all my role-playing characters. I've played way too many games. Like, I love people who remember all the characters. If you're young and you remember characters and you've got copies of all your character sheets, fucking keep them. Because my old ass don't remember shit. I don't remember my character sheets. You know, games end and they just go away. Uh, oh, what's in it for you? Oh, I mean, airbrush is not just for John to use. Rich. But yeah, so I mean, you want to do it. It it takes some time getting used to it. You're gonna have some hiccups along the way, but don't worry about it. You know, we're all in this together. You know, you gotta work on it. You know, people forget and like they expect things to immediately be great. It's not immediately going to be great. It takes some time for shit to cement and for for things to develop. You know, and these are all skills. And I think knowing how the fine line, even your players knowing the fine line of what you'll allow for rule of cool. Spoilers, you ever play a game with me, I don't fucking care. I'll assign you some asinine difficulty, and if you make it, fucking A, I'll make it work. But that's just how I am, you know. I joke with my players. You know, one of them we're still looking at playing a game every other Friday with my crew at work, and one of them was like, I have an idea. I want to make sure it's okay. I'm like, is it in the rule book? Yeah, like I don't fucking care. Do it. It makes you happy. Like, but it could be a little OP. Like I'll make it work. I don't care. Because there's a thing. If one player makes their shit OP, I'll just give other people shit to make them just as OP. And then you know what? I'll level up the bad guys to make them OP. And guess what? When everything's OP, nothing's OP. Or maybe I'll just throw fucking tons of dudes. You can be like, here's 50 orc warriors. Good luck. And you guys are like, we're OP. We're killing them. Awesome. Now you can be like, we just killed an entire orc tribe. Is that good or bad? But it's the thing, you know, there's a lot of freeform to it, and you can't worry about the details so much. I mean, you got to let it roll. You got to fucking wing it.
You got to have fun. I mean, that's the thing. We're there to roll dice, create a story, be silly, do stupid stuff, and have a good time. If not, why are we fucking there? And yes, you do have to have rules where, you know, it's part of the game, but
they're really more of guidelines.
The guidelines.
They are. Any rule in the book can be thrown out if you guys decide to.
Yeah.
You can go as a group of players and go, hey, Gonzo, we don't like this rule. It's crimping our style. Can we fucking put a bullet in it?
$20.
And most likely Gonzo goes, fucking, I don't care. Get that shit out of here then.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, if you guys are having fun, you make our job so much easier.
Yeah, when you're having fun and you're doing things, I'm like, cool. I don't have to worry about much.
Sit back and let the cats fucking wreck everything.
Yeah.
Push shit off everything. Awesome. I'm here for the cleanup.
Yep. So, by the way, I'm doing a bunch of printing. 100 of these fucking trees.
That's a lot of trees.
Yep. After the trees, it's tough, Captain Mizzy. And then there was something.
No, Captain Mizzy, don't say that. How can you write a good story method to generate your second resource without having to to generate it otherwise? Make a good story element. Give him something meaty to fuck you with later. And I'm here to tell y'all, when you do something like that and you give he's going to fuck you with it later. Don't mince words. It's what's going to happen. You know, maybe one of my players said, I learned from, you know, the Witch of the Forest and the Dark Forest, not the Black Forest, because the Black Forest one has ham, and that's different. He did call it the Black Forest. I'm like, it's got to be Dark Forest. You know, and part of it is he can never raise a hand against her. That's not going to fuck him later.
Yeah. And
he's well aware. Black Forest cake. See, there you go. It's got to be the Dark Forest. The Dark Forest. The Black Forest. Something. I got to go to the Black Forest. Cake and ham? Fucking A. Now I'm hungry. Yes, Captain Mizzy, but if you give him something juicy like that, it's going to be so much more interesting. It's not, you know, I'm trying to move away from the calling it fucking because anyway I take it's going to sound really terrible.
I'm over here just trying not to say, give him something juicy to fuck.
No, to fuck you with. It's gonna be
Ah,
so much more
yeah.
interesting.
No, it's just
It's going to be epic then. It's not. It's going to be a great story. Wrecked. No, that's not going to help at all. It's going to continue on. It's going to give great story at the end.
correct. There's always, I mean,
That's how I save that.
there was a campaign I played in, and there were two elves and a human, and the two elves, of course, speak Elvish, but they couldn't speak Common, and so the human couldn't speak Elven and only could speak Common, and so we had cool little like we'd draw on paper or sign language and stuff like that to do it, and so it was we had a negative, but we had it was a good role playing fun.
One of my players wanted to be his first character died. His second character was an undead, sort of white, but he's like, I'm mute. So he had to mime everything he wanted to do. So at one point, they're like, he's trying to tell the guy the ring is in the house. Well, they're hiding in a forest. So he points at his hand, the ring fingers he's pointing at, and
Mm-hmm.
then points at the house. Well, Brian's character, who was a giant kung fu pimp, saw he pointed to the left hand, which he's holding his golden crowbar in, and he pointed at the guard, who was walking around unaware of them. So he just grabbed him and he just shanks him with the fucking crowbar. Because he made a roll. He's like, I failed my roll. I understand what he's talking about. So he's like, this is what I think he's talking about. And just went. That's the fun stuff that happens when you just, go full role play. They still ended up fine. I mean, Bane ended up getting shot by an attack helicopter, but it was great. Yep, there you go. Bane and his character suddenly developed the fear of bugs he hadn't planned on because he thought it was neat and flavorful. Absolutely.
Oh yeah, especially you get a phobia from something that happens in game. More power to you. And it doesn't have to be crippling phobia. It could just be, okay, yeah, okay.
No, he played it well. It was great. He had played it up to that point, and then they first encountered some bugs, and he played it perfectly. It's super fun. Well, there you go. There's some basics on that. To sum up, don't say no, assign difficulty. Use props if you need to, but don't be afraid to let people use the power of their imagination to fight and explore and everything. And try not to give newbies the rule book. Try and just make their first character so you can describe what they're doing so they can get into the game more fully, and then go back and read the rule book and experience it fully.
And guys, if you have questions about all this stuff, you're more than welcome to ask us or give us some
Yeah.
things because we'll always take topics or subjects on this stuff because there's been. I mean, I don't want to say role playing is exploding. It's always been exploding. It's just now it's more mainstream and more talked about. It was just hidden most of the
I
time.
would actually counter that it is less frowned upon, and role players are no longer excluded or immediately discounted as being fucking crazy. Because they did.
Yeah. I mean, I enjoy the role playing. I enjoy the story, and I love creating a good
I
story.
mean, I like to think I enjoy role playing, unless you know when I get to do some.
Well, you get to do something. You're just always doing it as NPCs.
Yes.
So.
Any of my characters can get murdered at any time.
So. So let's go and get in the media section because I know that you have at least 75 things to talk about, and I have
False.
123.
Very false.
I have a few to talk about, which was kind of cool. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. But some of them is just trailers.
2. Well, didn't watch the trailers. 2 ish.
Okay. 2-ish. So, did you finish Picard and Mando?
I did not even start Picard. I
Okay.
do want to talk about Picard real quick, and I'm going to say this, and feel free to come at me if you want, but be aware, I'm John, and I'll come right the fuck back. I am fucking disappointed they used the fucking Borg again.
Yeah.
So fucking sick of the Borg.
I
Fucking get something else. You did the Borg first season, you did the Borg fucking second season. Oh, look, the Borg third season. It's like there's no other fucking next gen thing out there, for fuck's sake.
Well,
Now, that said, I've heard it's great.
it
It's
is.
still wonderful, and it probably is. But fuck, Star Trek needs to get some fucking originality back.
Yeah, so I was talking to one of my guys that I work with, and he's a huge Star Trek fan, and a huge Picard, and he's kind of on the same boat with us. Season two, just ignore it. Go to season one and season three, type thing. And he was like, he was kind of upset about Borg, but he goes, "That's what next gen is about. That
No,
was
it's
their
not.
hold on,
It's
wait,
fucking not. That's
let
the
me
problem.
finish. Let me finish. That was their big bad guy in their series that everybody enjoyed and everybody loved and everybody, story wise. But I'm like, I'm with you. There's other things in the next generation that they could have gone with, but
They didn't even like six
they're just
episodes,
yeah.
maybe 7 episodes, maybe one overall episode a season dedicated to Borg. Like, it'd be okay, but it's just fucking all they did. The first season, I like what they did with the Borg. Cool. Borg, not as the main big bad. That was very cool. Second
Oh, the
season,
boar.
obviously, didn't watch the whole thing. Started off with fucking Borg, for fuck's sake. And then
Yes.
I hear this one ends the Borg. I'm like, come the fuck on.
Yeah. So hopefully
I, but
we're
again,
done.
I hear it's great.
It was good.
I
No,
hear it's still going to enjoy it,
yeah.
but I'm allowed to be annoyed that they can't get any originality. It's like when we went through so many movies in a row of, oh look, it's the Enterprise versus giant starships that are better than it, and blah 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 blah. We went through fucking like 4 or 5 movies in a row of that shit,
Yeah.
and it gets fucking old.
Well, hopefully Borg is over. We've got a new storyline, and hopefully another. We got what? Strange New Worlds coming up. Is it next
Hmm.
month? No, June. I think is it June?
Soon.
Soon. Which we're looking forward to because
I didn't watch the trailer because I don't need to. I'm going to watch it. I don't care.
yeah, I did watch the trailer just because I, watched the trailer, but I liked it. I can't wait to see what they're going to go with it. See what's going to happen. I hope we get some good stuff in it, and it happens. I'm really excited for a good Star Trek again.
Wow, that was pointed.
Well, here's my thing about Star Trek. We got okay, Discovery. I like Discovery. We know it's going away, and this is last season, so we're fine and we're done. It's getting its ending. I'm happy for them. Star Trek now. Okay, so season 2 of Picard was shit. I don't care what anybody says.
I
Season
mean,
1 was okay.
spoiler: everyone says shit. It's like 29% of Rotten Potatoes.
Yeah,
Rotten Tomatoes. Rotten Potatoes. Those
Rotten
two.
Potatoes.
That's my new counter site.
Lower Decks. To me, yes, it's Star Trek, but it's more like
I have no desire to see Lower Decks,
it's not really. It's a comedic Star Trek.
and that's why. Because
Yeah,
why am I going to watch a piece of Star Trek when we already had the perfect parody and loving homage in the same fucking movie? We don't need to see this. I have no desire to see it.
yeah. I mean, I watched it.
It
I don't
may,
have any problem with Lower Decks.
I
It's
started
just
and it was not hitting me in the right way.
it's just not very. To me, yes, it's a comedy based in Star Trek universe. That's all it is.
It's also like early episodes, and it may get better, but they're early in the first episode. It was just low hanging fruit. And that's
Yeah, I mean, it was okay. It's all right. Nothing wrong with it.
I
But I
also might
mean,
be opinionated. Who knew?
what I really want is I want a futuristic Star Trek. I really want no.
We need a. I really wish Discovery had jumped to current era. Picard season 3 era,
Yeah, the Indian.
so that could be concurrent rather than in the far future because it puts them in a different problem.
Yeah, I mean, because I really wish that. I mean, it's we need a good Star Trek series where we don't have to rely on the past at all.
Well, they're always going to rely on the past. That's the thing.
Well, not
They're
going
making
that
their
we're
money off nostalgia.
correct, and we need to stop that. And
That
we
was
need
the
to
best
go.
thing about Discovery. There was no nostalgia to it.
Yeah,
Like, sure, you saw the Enterprise for a couple episodes, but it was not in a nostalgia way. It was because it fit the story way.
yeah.
Like, that's what was fresh and impressive about the first 2 seasons.
Maybe do something like 100 years or 50 years in the future from
You don't
current
need to.
timeline. That way you could do
You
some.
can just continue on from the same timeline as Picard season 3 and keep going,
Yeah,
which they should have done in the meantime a long time ago.
yeah. I just don't want. Like I said, nothing wrong with Strange Worlds. I love it. I think it's one of the best Star Treks out there. But I want to get away from the past. I want new. That's the reason why Next Generation was such a big hit. It wasn't, flashing back. It was all new shit.
Nope. No new shit. Yeah, absolutely. I'm with you.
So, but I finished Picard. Like I says, you do not count season 2. You just go with season 1 and 3. I mean, you can maybe Wikipedia season 2 or something, just so you can get the story or whatever and get characters. But I would probably give it, if I'm not going to count season 2, I'd give it about a 1. Because there was a couple of fillers and, of course, hashtagging old stuff. And I just said that word just to remind you, too.
I mean, I was wondering if you remembered that I said that.
Yep.
So,
nope, I did that over.
We're going to be a lot less reviewing stuff and more talking in general about stuff. There was a great quote from Twitter. Someone was talking about episodes and says, filler is not an actual thing in the context of Western media. Somehow the process of making anime episodes that allow time for manga they're adapting to catch up got transposed onto things fans don't like because they have short attention spans. And it's fucking right. There are no filler episodes. They're world-building episodes. They may not move the main plot forward, but they add story elements. I mean, people need to understand the difference between plot and story. They move, we're going to talk about Mando, so look at that one episode of Mando. Everyone knows the episode I'm talking about. The one on Coruscant.
Yeah.
That didn't really move the main plot forward so much as aside from establishing a character, but it was world building so you know what's going on in the background and adding some more story elements for various things. So it's not filler. It's not like they're waiting for fucking the Star Wars manga to catch up. Filler is stuff that happened in, I believe, mostly Naruto and fucking One Piece because they got past where the manga was and they're like, shit, we're gonna do something while they make some more manga for us to fucking adapt. So. Hey, there's a rant. Bleach as well, sure. There you go.
Oh, yeah, Bleach too. Well, so going back on more trailers before we get into other cool stuff, the Warrior trailer dropped for season 3.
Oh, yeah, I need to... I mean, I'm not caught up at any stretch, but...
I'm really looking forward to that because I really liked Warrior. I thought it was a great acting, great, martial arts, very solid series, very fun, very interesting, and this one looks to be good too. So, looking forward to it more than anything right now.
I think it's next on my catch-up list.
So if you haven't started watching Warrior, you need to watch it. It's solid.
It's on HBO Max.
Yep, soon to be Max, I think is what it's called now.
Sure, whatever.
Yeah. And then the other trailer that dropped, and I will say that I am a complete noob on this type of Transformers, but the Beast Wars trailer dropped. Another Beast Wars trailer dropped. Is that what it's called?
Transformer Rise of Beasts.
Rise of the Beast, yeah. But I have no clue about the Beast Transformers at all. I knew they existed, but I had no clue about it. And you know what? I think this is going to be the movie that we turn our brain off and just let Prime and everybody just beat the shit out of stuff because of things that are coming.
You mean like every other one that's not named Bumblebee?
Yep.
Like, shit on, Michael Bay's quintology of movies as much as you want. Towards the end, I liked where they were going with their own ideas. It's just that it was a little batshit crazy.
Yeah.
I don't know what people were expecting live action Transformers to be great. They're always going to be turn your brain off action movies. Bumblebee is going to be the one exception to that, and even at parts that is, but it's got a lot more heart than them, so it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at it and it says,
I also did not watch the trailer for that because I'm probably going to see that movie anyway, so who cares?
Yeah.
You don't need to watch the trailer for movies you're going to see. This just in.
Unless you just want to get more hyped.
Sometimes there's a negative to getting too hyped for something. Just saying.
But I saw the trailer of that. I'm interested in it. Like I said, I don't know any of the story of, Beast Transformers type stuff, but it's got Optimus Prime in it. Yeah. Fucking cool.
Also, they dropped a trailer for The Equalizer 3, which they fucking missed the train on that one. They could have called it the Threequalizer.
The Threequalizer.
Shame. I haven't seen all the second Equalizer, but the first one was great. It's fucking Denzel Washington. Fucking, it's gonna be great. Let's be honest. It's Denzel.
Yeah.
Denzel does quality. Other than that, I did share with Gonzo that they are actually now looking into pre-production for Battle Angel Alita 2. Um, no real details yet, but they're talking about it, and if they're talking about it, it'll probably happen. It did really good internationally, not as good uh, domestically, but that's fine. It's still a very underrated movie. If you haven't seen it, you should see it. I probably want to rewatch it here soon. Been a lot of clips showing up. It's got a great soundtrack. Once you get past the anime-ness of the main character, it actually only bothers you for a short time, and then it's just really good. What else? Um,
That was.
Obviously, we talk about Mando at some point.
I can talk about something that I actually watched that we haven't watched. It was on Netflix.
Sure.
Power Rangers. So there's
Oh,
a
the
new the new movie came out.
is the anniversary one.
Yeah, or whatever it's called. It's like Once and for All or something like that. I can't
Yeah,
remember.
it's got
Yeah,
most of the original Power Rangers.
yeah, yeah. It was the new Power Ranger movie, and you know what? I was never a huge Power Ranger person. Blah blah blah.
We
Whatever.
were
I was
both bit too old for that.
well too
Just a
old.
skosh. A couple years.
Yeah, but I mean, I'll watch it. I mean, because it's why not? I mean, they made a movie. I mean, I got a little
Look,
bit
I've
of free
said this in the
time.
past. No one does callbacks and getting other people in like Power Rangers. No one. They're so good at it.
Yeah, and so
Like
this is of
they
course.
care about that.
Oh yeah, and I will tell you right now, this is so much of a Power Ranger movie. You're just like, yep, this hits all the Power Ranger notes. Cheesy lines, silly, Power Ranger, moves, the whole 9 yards. So if you're a Power Ranger fan, it'll feel right at home. Of course, they're, much older people and much older things going on, but that's just, life.
Yeah.
But this is very much just a Power Rangers movie. It doesn't take itself serious. It didn't do a serious story. It didn't do, serious anything. It was, the stupid stuff that is a Power Ranger TV show. 100% copy Power Ranger TV show.
Oh,
Um,
Arthur Michael Roy. Yeah, I remember that one. That Power Rangers one shot they did. That it was interesting. I
yeah,
mean, they're never going to get Power Rangers to be that serious just because it's going to be that consistently for kids things that the parents get to watch with the kids and get a little nostalgia. And that's good nostalgia
yeah.
because it's for the kids, but they're putting the notes in so that the adults can enjoy it as well. That's how you use nostalgia properly. It was a little disappointing that they didn't get Amy Jo Johnson, who's very busy. She's a director and stuff for that. So they didn't offer. She just declined. She had things going on. Same with Jason David Frank. It was filmed before he committed suicide, and he apparently had other things going on, so he passed on it. So,
But I
but no,
mean,
it's good to hear that it was enjoyable.
it was enjoyable, and they did do tributes to the Power Rangers that had passed away, and stuff like that. So I mean, it was there. There was nothing wrong with it. Um, but it was just good little fun. If you're a Power Ranger fan, it'll fit right with you.
Well, I did 2 weeks ago finish Band of Brothers since I was rewatching that.
Okay.
It's great. I'll be honest, the latter half of the series is a lot harder of a watch as they go through some really tough times in the beginning part. Plus, since the second to last episode is the one where they find the concentration camp, and that's the exact point. Remember why it's okay to fucking punch Nazis. You wave a Nazi flag, get ready for a fucking fist.
Yeah.
I got two fists, they're ready to eat for everyone.
Yeah, that was. I remember because I remember watching it when it originally came out, on HBO and everything, and when you first start watching the series, like, oh, this is a cool, all these friends, and then you're like,
and then you
oh
realize, oh
shit,
yeah,
this is
people
war.
who died. It was rough.
Yeah, and it just got rougher along the way, but
And I love how even they just don't like, one of the leaders, Buck Compton, like seeing a bunch of his guys he's been with for forever, like, get hurt grievously, broke him. And it happens, Mankind's not meant for war.
no,
It's tough. And none of them thought any less of him for that. Like even the episode earlier, the one with Private Blythe they were talking to, they didn't judge him horribly. Like he even talks to people about, and I said this in the first time, about how he was afraid, and none of them judged him poorly for that. And that's the great thing to show is that, you can't always judge people poorly for that. You know, some people are just scared. People deal with shit their own way, right?
Yep.
So, but it's a great series. I mean, if you've not seen it, you should see it.
It's
I
so well
rewatch it every
done.
so often. Very well done. It's zero. I mean, if you weren't shocked, zero. It
Yeah.
is. I would say it is absolutely the best World War II media.
Yes. I'll agree with that.
Like it's better than Saving Private Ryan,
Oh, yeah.
better than all the rest. Right, it's also longer than a lot of them because it's a miniseries, but it is the best.
Because they're the best around.
Nothing's gonna ever keep it down, indeed.
Nope.
So there's that. Gonzo, what was those?
Yeah, I watched Sweet Tooth. So if you don't remember, Sweet Tooth is a story about a virus hits the planet and starts, people start dying from it, but children are born with part animal, part human. And so season 2 came out Thursday. And season 1 was great. I loved it. It was a very good show, very well done. Season 2, same thing. Um, the characters are still good. They did kind of, him and Ha on, what was going on. It took a little bit longer to get that plot point going type thing, but it wasn't bad. It was just like, yeah, how long are we going to sit in this prison cell type thing? And special effects, fine. Story's fine. They expand on the universe. They expand on what's happening, why things are happening. What are the, half hybrid children? What is the actual virus? And I like that because I went and looked up after I got done watching it. I went and looked up, and the guy that wrote the comic said that they never really explained that in the show or in the comic book. They didn't explain certain things, and I was like, that would have annoyed the shit out of me if I was reading the comic, and I didn't know why the hybrid children were doing and why things were happening. But they did explain it in the show, which is really good. I enjoy that. I like to know the whys. Um, Overall, the entire season was good. Very interesting, very fun. Little nitpicky things that kind of got annoyed by me, but I enjoyed it. I would give it probably 1 to maybe 1.5 space herpes. I hope they get renewed for a third season so they can finish the story because, from what I understand, there's only 40 comics in the series, and in those 40 comics, they get through almost everything except for the last 10 on the season. So the next season would be the end of the series no matter what because it would be the end of the story. So I'm hoping they get another season out of it. Plus, I like people to have
Oh,
jobs too.
so I did see a teaser for a series coming out, which might be enough to get me to get combined with another series coming out on it to get Peacock for at least a little bit.
Oh, what's with that?
Well, we know they're doing the prequel John Wick thing about the
Yeah,
Continental,
yeah, the Continental.
but they're also going to do a series on a video game that I played an absolute shit ton of in the past.
What was?
Twisted Metal
Oh yeah. I've actually seen some shots of that.
with Anthony Mackie
Yeah,
in it. And I mean, Anthony Mackie's fucking awesome, so might be enough to get us to get that for a short time. Might rotate that around, get it, watch some stuff, get rid of it. Um, we'll see. I also need to get Apple TV so I can watch Ted Lasso, but that'll have to wait till after I finish Warrior.
Oh, Ted Lasso's so good.
Yeah, well, but only so many things,
I know.
you know? Only so much time, and my ass doesn't spend enough. I still need to watch Rebels because, let's be honest, it's going to tie into the beginning of Ahsoka, which luckily did not tie directly into the end of Mandalorian, if you want to talk about that.
That's true. So the Mandalorian, we won't spoil the episode, but we will definitely,
We'll spoil some concepts, but not like any content.
correct.
Like, because I really thought that the Mandalorian was going to end like on a down and lead directly into Ahsoka, but
Yes.
it's not. It ended on its own terms, which I thought was a fucking great idea.
And you know what's interesting is you could cancel the series right now and I'd be happy.
Yeah, it told a complete story.
Yeah. You could say there's no more Mandalorian's done, and I would be perfectly okay with it.
I
You
mean, I'd be
might,
okay with that. So I'd be like, oh, I'd like to see more, but you know,
yeah, but you would be like, shit, there was a big plot hole and everything going here that we need to, solve and get over.
no, there's some threads they could pull on if they wanted you to make things go further, but done well. I mean, I thought it was to be candid, a little cheesy at points, but good cheesy. Star Wars cheesy, not bad cheesy.
Yeah.
Um, the fights were cool. Um, yeah, I fucking loved it. It was great.
Yeah, I had no problem with it whatsoever. I had a good time with it. If they get another season, good. If not, I'm okay with them, you know, being done
Yeah,
with it.
yeah. They can have him show up in a people's series like he's been known to do.
Oh yeah, just pop into something and be like, hey, oh shit, Mando's here. Then you got, cool episode type thing.
Yep. But there's a lot they can do. There's a lot of story elements they can play off of for future stuff too.
Yep.
Very pleased. I give the whole thing point 0.5.
Yeah, I give it that. That's not a big problem. I mean, I'm happy with it. Like I says, it's just good fun stuff. Good fun
Yeah,
Star Wars.
and then interested to see where. I mean, I'll get my Rebels watch in, then in time for Ahsoka, hopefully, and then we'll go from there. Probably don't need to. They'll be. I mean, they're really good at not making you watch other things. Them explaining just enough of the story at hand. But I've seen season 1 of Rebels, enjoyed it. Let's just watch some more. It shouldn't take too long to watch through. It's short episodes. What else you got, Gonzo?
So I picked up Jedi Survivor, which is the new Star Wars game. Big shocker.
Yeah.
I liked the first one, by the way. The first one was fine. A little annoying stuff here and there, but for overall, it was still a good story, Jedi fighting thing. This one, I'm kind of pissed off at. One, I know that there's a big issue with the PC version, and like PC players can't even play it.
All right, let's pause. Keep in mind, when you're making something for a console, you're making it for set hardware. When you're
Correct.
porting over to PC, you're setting it up for multiple hardware. This is not new.
Yeah.
This happens with a ton of ports. Let's just call it what it is. It's unfortunate. You would hope a AAA studio would be better than that, but it's fucking understandable.
Yes. So I'm playing it, and it's not that I'm disappointed in the game. Is you do get some new cool stuff. You get some new cool fighting techniques. I'm not going to spoil what they are because it's part of the story. But I like it. I'm just not that much into it. The combat is okay. The combat, I actually turned down the difficulty because it was like just my character has the max amount of hit points already and the max amount of force. And one creature comes up and hits me and like takes out my entire health bar in one hit. And the dodging mechanic is not that great in this game, and it really pisses me off because I'll see something like you have to dodge, and so I dodge, and then I don't. It doesn't dodge far enough, and so I get hit anyway. So I'm like, this sucks, and so it's annoying. So I actually turned on the difficulty. So I'm like, I just want to hear the story and just beat up shit. But my biggest complaint is this is a lot of fucking puzzles. Very little combat comparative to the puzzle and climbing. I'm climbing fucking everywhere. I'm like, just let me run into a bunch of stormtroopers and beat the shit out of them, or I spend more time climbing than I do fighting, and that's just kind of annoying. And in some of the controls are not great either. Like trying to jump on a little pole that you're trying to walk across, and you fly off to the side, and I'm like, luckily, you don't have to start all over. You just start, back where you fell. But still, it's just annoying. Or having to jump the perfect jump so you can grab onto something so you don't die. And if you don't make that perfect jump, you got to do it all over again. So it was just annoying. Graphics-wise, no problems. It's got good graphics. Cool things. It is almost not worth it searching out and finding everything because the only thing you're finding some little perks, but most of the stuff you find are like more outfits, more, lightsaber parts that do nothing but just, have a graphic design difference. And I'm like, dang it, you could have done where, I go looking for better lightsaber parts and they do something better. But everything is all cosmetic that you're finding 90% of the time. So it's kind of boring. Kind of like, who cares? Whatever. I don't care. So, but I'm going to finish it. I bought it. Finish it up because after that it's the new Zelda game. So that'll be what I'll really be playing after this. But right now, I'm not impressed with it, and I'm kind of upset with it because the first one was pretty good. Hopefully, and like this, I want to do it for the story because I like the story so far. I like the characters, but gameplay wise, it's not great.
Fair enough.
John?
That's all I had, so I didn't watch anything else. I had
Okay.
a hell of a week. It was very frustrating. You heard I bitched to you and Kathy a little bit about stuff that went on.
Um, am watching, still watching BattleBots. They are now out of the preliminary rounds and now into the final rounds, the elimination
Cool.
rounds, which was cool. So it's interesting to see who made it, who didn't make it. And they also started doing something this year where up and coming bots. They show the up and coming bots, or the bots that are just brand new to the circuit, which you're like,
The AAA bots, huh?
yeah,
You need to get up to the AA, then maybe the majors.
yeah, because they show people that are brand new to the sport, and you're like, ooh, that robot would be destroyed. I did not get to watch the new Peter Pan yet. That is on my schedule. I will most likely watch that tomorrow because I'm off tomorrow. Because you know me and Peter Pan. I love me some Peter Pan.
Oh, I do want to say that Tex of the Black Pants Legion, who normally just does Tex Talks BattleTech, he actually did just a pure history one. Uh, that came out Saturday on some aviation history that is very interesting. So go look up the Black Pants Legion, Black Pants, as in wearing pants, on YouTube, and you can find he calls it A Christmas to Remember. And was very enjoyable. It was engrossing. He's got a good way of researching. He'll go off on tangents and all, but
What?
very enjoyable to watch while he's still working on other stuff at the same time. So
So, Gonzo is not a lost boy. Gonzo is Pan. That's just how it is. I have been deemed that I'm actually not human. That I'm actually a fey creature. Somebody statted me out in a role playing game, and I'm actually a fey creature. So I'm actually Pan. I love Peter Pan shows. I love Peter Pan, the storyline, the characters, all that type of stuff. Hook is still one of my favorite movies of all time because Robin Williams is the shit in that. So I'm definitely looking forward to the new Peter Pan movie. But I think that's about it. Are we done?
I think we're done.
Damn, that went by really quickly. We had a
Mm-hmm.
lot to talk about. We blabbed like crazy.
That's normal.
Well, that's normal. That's what we do. And I actually got some decent amount of paint on stuff, so it's working.
I hope to start painting stuff again soon. Just
Yes.
haven't really had the drive.
Well, I'll probably be doing some more painting and maybe some stream painting. You just gotta wait and hold up.
There is something coming up that might inspire me to paint more, so we'll see.
So we just gotta wait. Because what else? Like this, I'm on a big kick of 3D printing right now, of course, because Warfare Weekend, I got to get more terrain printed out because we're trying to do as much 3D terrain for all of our games as possible. And while some of the games are already taken care of, War Machine and Hordes, or should I just say War Machine now, it needs 3D terrain, and we're pushing 3D terrain, and a lot of people are pushing
3D terrain.
Yeah, a lot of people are pushing it, and we're trying to get it, and so I'm trying to get as much as I can. I'm going to print 100 of those trees, and after 100 of these trees are done, then I'll work on trenches, and then hills, and
Asterisks. Trenches should be flat.
they're a flat one, but they're a 3D flat. They're not a neoprene
They're one of the few
mat.
things I will take neoprene for. Neoprene, the outline of forest, if your game uses forest outlines,
Yes, we use
water features. There's just some things you can't make 3D without becoming giant pain in the ass. Like if you make a board and you have trenches inset into the board, fucking you guys do the man.
that. Well, these I'm gonna reach over and grab it. This is the one, and it's just I just spray painted it so you can't really see it, but it's just a flat.
Yeah, I mean, works. It's just
Yeah.
like putting an European mat on the table.
Yeah. So it'll sit there, but it'll be 3D like. It just won't be neoprene. So we're trying to get rid of all the. We're doing of course the trees on neoprene.
Yeah, I mean, there's no point in getting rid of it. If you're going to use it for like the outline of forest and all this, just use it for trenches too if you can. Just whatever's cheaper for you. If printing them's cheaper, by all means.
Oh yeah, this is really cheap and really fast too. I can print a bunch of them really quickly, type thing. So, all right, we got off a little tangent at the end, but I'll be doing a bunch of 3D printing, so you'll probably be seeing some more of that. Do we have anybody to go to?
Oh, I'm going to guess Painting Dad's there. Other than that, you'd be getting something weird. If you want to show someone playing Jedi Survivor, Ferk Polo is there, but Ferk is, warning, a little crazy.
I'll just go and send you to Painting Dad. He's probably doing some Warhammer stuff. Let's see, what is he
Painting
doing?
Dad, less crazy.
Yeah, Painting Dad, less crazy. Looks like he's probably doing, he's painting some models. So we'll just send you over Painting Dad. Guys, we appreciate you listening. We appreciate you coming on all the time. If you listen to us or watch us live, we appreciate it. Make sure you check it out. We are possibly having some more podcasts jump underneath the More Than Dice banner. So you'll probably see some more things come up. Don't be
And I'm just getting a backlog of my episodes for my game before I release them because that way you guys are getting them every other week, not, oh, look, they had a delay and now I got a delay.
Yeah. So you'll be seeing more. So, guys, take care of yourself. Look after each other. If you see something, say something. If you can do something, do something. For More Than Dice, I'm Gonzo.
I'm John.
Good night.
Good night.
Stick around for the Painting Dad. At least give him a follow. Doesn't cost you anything. And it probably makes him smile.